Hey, this is Ralph Shepard of Primal Fear, and you're watching CMS TV.
I got a call at like 5 in the morning. He's an early bird, and he's like, "Hey, Chris, uh, um, we had met years ago and gotten along fairly well. We weren't pen pals or anything, but he's like, "Hey, I remember, hanging out with you, and you're cool. And now a lot of people are telling me a lot of good things about you, and I was wondering if you'd like to make a thrash record with me," which was like, I was jumping up and down. They had recently put out Super Collider, which I think was a big disappointment to the bass. I was like, yes, I want to get you back on track. So I'm finishing up a couple tours, and then he flies me to Nashville, gets me rents a house for like 3 months, and it's just me and him. It's for that entire time. Like at the end of those 3 months, I think it was 3 months, maybe 2.5. That's when Kiko was brought in. Like I was there when he was going through, like, I don't know who should play guitar. I don't know this. And so Kiko comes in at the very end to do solos. Dave Ellison comes in at the very end to do bass. But basically, Dave and I wrote that entire record.
Chris Akin Presents, and I, of course, am Chris Akin. And today on the show, I don't even know if I can call this a new band anymore. It's been growing for the last 5 years or so, but it is now here. The band is Firstborne, brand new release called Lucky, out on August the 8th. And here to talk all about that and everything else in his world, the drummer, Mr. Chris Adler. Chris, how are you, man?
I am good, Chris. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Glad to have you, man. A longtime fan of your playing, as whether it was in the old band or Megadeth or now with Firstborne, man. It's you just keep carrying on.
Well, it's it's not something that I feel like putting down. I feel like I'm still having fun with it. So it's what I do. It's like when I came out of the other bands and kind of had some time, I was like, okay, well, what's chapter 2 going to be about? And it's like, well, let me look at my resume here. Okay, well, there's about 30 years of playing drums. Maybe I should keep doing that.
Sure. Was there and we'll get right into Firstborne here in a second, but I imagine a drummer of your caliber, and I'm not saying this to kiss your ass or anything, I'm just being honest. A drummer of your caliber gets a lot of those calls. When you first became available, did you get a lot of calls from various bands saying, "Hey, we might be looking," or "We are looking," or?
There were a few, and they were flattering offers from good sized bands and people that I really like, and I was very fortunate to have them reach out. I was going through it was a difficult time right when all that it wasn't just the departure from the band. My mom had died at the same time. I was in the middle of a terrible divorce, and it was just taking everything I had at the time to just kind of stay above board. And most of the bands that did get in touch were like, "Hey, we've got a tour coming up, and guy's got a bad wrist or whatever, something like that." And I really wasn't able to leave home at the time. So there wasn't anything that I regret turning down. There was one, because I really love the guys in Testament, and they reached out. It was actually Gene that reached out when Gene was leaving Testament. He's like, "Man, I know you're the guy for this gig, and I love you. I love your plan. You're going to fit right in." And I know the rest of the guys, and they're sweethearts. And I would have loved to have done that. It just wasn't the right time. And clearly, they got somebody that's wildly talented, so they're in good shape.
Right on. Well, man, let's move to Firstborne. For people that don't know, this has been growing for a while. It's if I understand it right, you guys started, or you put it together in 2019, and you did a few singles here and there, but it's been a kind of a work in progress. So maybe talk a little bit about the formation of it and why it wasn't like most bands do with guys that have done this before, which you get together and you blast something out and then you figure out who you are after.
Right. Well, there were a lot of, it was interesting how it all came about. I had, after the departure and after some time of dealing with things here, I got offered a drum clinic tour, which I'd done many before, throughout India. And I love going to India. I've been there, I think, 8 or 9 times now. And it's one of my favorite places to travel to. And one of the things we did was during the afternoon, I would do my drum clinic, like kind of like a TED Talk kind of thing. And then that evening, we'd go to, in whatever city we were in, we'd go to the local club or theater, whatever it was, and put on a show with kind of the hot shots from the area. And we'd do a bunch of cover songs from Lamb and Megadeth and maybe even their band or whatever. And the singer that was put in place for that, I didn't know him when I got there. We did a couple days of rehearsal, and the guy just completely blew me away. I mean, I've been around great singers, fortunately, for a long time, and I've been around some not great singers, but there was something just incredibly special about this kid. And my wife would come with me on the tour. She was in the hotel when I went to rehearsal, and when I heard him singing, I remember texting her. I was like, I don't know what you're doing, but come down here. You got to hear this kid sing. And so we did the tour, and it was like 2.5 weeks, maybe 3 weeks across India. Got to know each other and had so many similarities in the music that we loved. And I asked him, I said, I've got this project. It wasn't really a project at the time. There was a guitar player in Los Angeles that I'd been listening to for years while in Lamb of God. Most of the time, it was like if I was on a plane, a long trip, something like that, I would put his records on. His name's Myron, and he's got a good collection of self-released stuff. And it just made me, I don't know, it's to me, it seemed like happy music. And in traveling around with either Lamb or Megadeth, while, it's a dream come true in many ways, there's a lot of negativity surrounding not only the travel, it's difficult, but, sometimes the people, just the atmosphere of some of the clubs, some of the other bands. It's not always the most fun you're ever going to have in your life, even though it seems like it. And so this was kind of my little reprieve. I'd be listening to his stuff. And I got in touch with him. Actually, I bought his record off Bandcamp. He reached out to me. He's like, if this is really you, man, thanks for buying the record. And I was like, yeah, it's really me. I'm a big fan. And a couple months later, I was like, hey, maybe we should, get together, do a song or two or something like that. So we started trading stuff right away. And then when I was over in India with Girish, who was the singer, I texted him. I was like, I don't know if he's going to be interested, but I think I found us a singer if we want to take this to the next level. And so I then had a discussion with Girish. He was thrilled to be able to be a part of something with me. And that's kind of how the three components had come together. Maybe slightly right around the same time, actually, maybe 2018, 19. I had done maybe 17. I had done a tour with a band called Hail, which is kind of the C-list metal celebrities that go into places that you probably wouldn't normally go, and had a blast with that. And James Lamenzo was playing bass on that tour, and I had met James in 2005 during a Gigantour with Megadeth that Lamb of God played, and we got along really well. And he said, always keep me in mind if you have a project going on. I think he liked hanging out with me, liked my playing. And so I hit him up, and he's like, oh, 100%, let's do it. So all of that started like a deluge of virtual files going everywhere across the country and across the world. And so, like you said, we put out, I don't know, something like 20 songs on Bandcamp, Spotify, YouTube, stuff like that. And then I'm still friends with Machine, who was the producer for Lamb of God's biggest records, Ashes of the Wake and Sacrament. And I said, hey, I've got this new project. I'd love to work with you if you're interested. He jumped at that. And so in November, December of 2023, we flew Girish over from India. It was his first time ever in the US. Came into Texas. He was like this wide-eyed kid, like, holy crap. Of course, he'd never seen anything like it. I don't know if you've been to India or know anything about it. It's a very, very densely crowded place. And for him to land in Texas and, everybody's got a cowboy hat and a gun and 30 acres, he was just like, oh, I cannot believe this. So it was actually the first time that the three of us were in a room at the same time, and then with Machine in his studio called The Barn outside of Austin, Texas. And we had all these demos from the files that we've been passing back and forth. But what we decided was, since it was the first time we were meeting, since it's the first time we're going to be in the same room, why don't we, book the studio for a month and take that first week and just write and see what happens. See if we can, use the energy and the things we have in common, the things we like about music, including the things we don't like about music, and just, wake up and see what happens that day. And so that's what we did. And we wrote 2, sometimes 3 songs a day for the first 6 days, and then we narrowed it down to what we ended up putting on the record. So that's kind of how it's come about. The older stuff is still, available in every way, but this is the first time that we were actually, in the same room, being able to just bounce ideas off each other. And one of the things that I really got frustrated with projects I was in before was when those projects started, we'd be in a room and we'd hash it out and back and forth, and like, it was, I wouldn't call it competitive, but it was healthy for the music because it wasn't one guy sitting at home writing a song with his drum machine or whatever it was and coming in and saying, here's the song. That became the way things started to work, and I just hated it. I love being in a room and just bashing things out. I really think it elevates whatever it is. And not to say that somebody couldn't bring in something, mystical or magical, but in my experience, it's always been better when you're kind of round tabling things and trying to make things better with everybody's ideas. And so that's what we had the opportunity to do in Texas, and it is slightly different than what we were doing. You can just what I was just saying, passing things back and forth over the internet. You're still not in the same room, and yeah, I could call the guys up on WhatsApp or whatever and talk about it. But being in the same room, it's so quick, and you can be like, "Oh, what if we did that right there now?" And da 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 da. Let's not think about it too much. And record it. So it was a really killer opportunity, and I love being in the same room and hashing things out.
Welcome to the ultimate experience for hard rock and heavy metal fans. Introducing the CMS Locals VIP app, your #1 destination for all things on the CMS network. Dive into the classic metal show, CHRIS AKIN Presents, Seth Williams Show, and more, all in one place. It's free to get started or elevate your experience with a subscription for just $4.99 a month. Go commercial free, get advanced releases, and enjoy exclusive bonus episodes. Plus, it's the prime spot to chat with like-minded fans who love raw, uncensored commentary. Are you ready to rock? Download from your iOS or Android store, search for the CMS network, and join the community now. It's free, it's easy, and it's the best way to keep our shows with you every single day. Install the locals.com app today and follow the CMS network.
Is part of the reason that Lucky is so diverse musically this exact reason, because the complaints that everybody has about Lamb of God is that everything sounds the same. Okay. That's always been the complaint that people have had. This clearly, song to song to song, is very different tempos, different styles, different vocal styles, different drum patterns. I mean, you really challenged. Was that a purpose move because you now have the freedom to do that?
Well, I don't think we woke up in the morning and say, let's do something completely different than we did yesterday. But because we wrote so many songs so quickly, there were some ideas when we were narrowing it down and said, well, we already have a song that's, kind of like that. We already have a song that's kind of like this. And we did want it to be diverse. And yes, you're right about not only Lamb, but, any of the projects that I've been in. Once you kind of hit your stride and it's working, it's even without, we didn't have like a label coming and telling us, you can't do that or you can't do this. But it was just, you could tell, like, it's almost, your psyche starts to change where, well, this is working, so let's not change it. Mm-hmm. So, that complaint is valid because of the way, it's almost like training a dog. It's like, well, we do this, we get that. So right. You keep doing the same thing. And I totally agree with you on that. I think people are scared to branch out of what they're doing. And yeah, this sets us up to really be able to do whatever. And it wasn't, at the same time, we weren't just, throwing darts at a wall with a blindfold on trying to figure it out. I mean, there are commonalities between everything there, but I think we really did try to explore all sides of whatever genre you want to put it in. When the thing that the three of us, Girish, Myron, and myself, have in common is this like genuine love for like the late 80s hard rock and metal sound. The bands that, even now, I'll listen to, old Def Leppard and old Rat songs. It's just things that like make you smile. And I don't Sure. I don't want to go buy spandex and tease my hair and all that kind of stuff, but it's the music that just makes me happy. Like you can drive around, you can cook dinner with, the stereo cranking that stuff, whatever it is. And because I was with Lamb of God and because I was with Megadeth, people might be like, "Oh, that's your self-indulgent, it's something that you might be embarrassed about listening to." But I never was. I always liked that stuff, and I never wanted to take Lamb of God in that direction. I certainly didn't want to take Megadeth in that direction. But having the freedom to now, I've done that. I've done those things now, and I've made that music that you can't make really any more pummeling of music than I've done. So why not go back to the things that I consider to be fun.
Sure. Does working with Girish open the door for you to try many different things? Because, and again, I'm not slamming on Dave Mustaine. I'm certainly not slamming on Randy, any of that stuff. But those guys are kind of unidimensional singers, and that's not a bad thing. They've obviously had very much success with it.
Yeah.
But Girish can do everything. He can do high, low, growls, clean. And I know that not only from your project, but from the Chronicles record that he did before. This guy is a 5-octave guy.
Yeah.
Does that open the door for you?
Absolutely.
Creatively?
He is a world-class singer, and it is the first time that I've had the opportunity to work with somebody like that, where there's really no limitation. I mean, working with him in the studio was just incredible, because any idea that anybody might have, including himself, would we be able to throw it out, he'd be able to demo it, just like that. So yes, it opened up pretty much every door. I mean, there's, distortion on every song probably, but, he could do, he's a total chameleon. I mean, he could do really anything. And you're right. It did open up a lot of opportunities and possibilities, and probably things that we haven't even thought of yet.
Sure. Has Firstborne opened you specifically up to playing a little more arena rock and a little less, pummel metal?
Yes. It was always a shock that, the band Lamb got as far as we did. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day, when we first started, it's like we went from playing, basements and volunteer fire halls to a club. And I remember, Randy being like, "I'm not playing a club, like, we're punk rock, we shouldn't be doing that," So it's amazing to see it, and for me to be in the project and playing stadiums and stuff like that. It's unbelievable. And clearly, music tastes have changed considerably since when we started, and we happened to do it at a very lucky time. And I wouldn't say that I was ever opposed to playing, kind of what you call arena rock. And I don't, to be honest, I don't think we're going to be playing any arenas, but it is fun for me to play that kind of stuff. And it's a lot, in Lamb or even in Megadeth, a lot of the times, especially in Megadeth, when, I was asked to help do some backup singing, things are going a million miles an hour. And then now I'm, trying to add some, background vocals to this thing. It's not the easiest thing to do. And most of my career, I've really played on kind of the bleeding edge of my ability. And I never really, I started playing drums when I was 21. I didn't really want to play drums. I wanted to be a guitar player, and I love guitar rock. And so I never took lessons. And, I do clearly have a gift and a talent of doing it. I'm able to take whatever I hear in my head and get my body to do it somehow, often with a lot of work. But this has allowed me to kind of like, it's not necessarily entirely all easy to play, but it gave me the opportunity to do really what most drummers do, is enjoy playing instead of holding your breath for 3 minutes, like hoping to God you get to the end.
Right. Well, it definitely is. Whatever it is that you guys are doing is definitely working. There's a real, this is going to sound cliche as shit, but there's a real band sound to what you're doing. It doesn't sound fake. It sounds like you recorded in a room, which I know is probably the best compliment I can give you, is that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
For you and for the band in general, who takes lead? Is it you? I mean, everybody perceives it as you. Is there a lead, or do you guys really work together and bounce things and kick things and whatnot?
Oh yeah, as far as songwriting goes, or as far as okay. So I mean, it really was. So we rented a house together. So we were either in that house together or at the studio together the entire time. And it wasn't. Nobody was looking at me for an idea. Nobody was looking at Myron for an idea. Nobody was looking at Girish. But generally, one of us would wake up with some sort of creative little bud of something. And probably more than half the time that was Myron as a guitar player. Girish is also, in addition to his wild ability to sing, he's an incredible guitar player. So those two guys would sit up late at night with guitars, tossing ideas back and forth. I'd be listening, while I'm on TikTok or whatever, and we'd get into the studio, and one of the things, even when I was in Lamb, one of the things that I was seemed to be particularly good at was keeping a memory of things that had gone on in the past and arrangement wise. So I could say, oh, Myron might come in with an idea that morning, and we don't have there's not an idea to go after that. We don't know where to go after that. And I would be like, oh, remember on Tuesday that thing that we couldn't figure out, and what if we stitched those together? So I think everybody played as much of a part as anybody else did. There wasn't really a lead. We were definitely working together.
Right on. Well, Chris, let's dig into the record a little bit. Let's start with the single that you shared with everybody, Wake Up. Tell me about this song and why it was chosen. And I'll tell you up front, it would not have been the song that I chose first.
Right.
I would have gone with Rescue Me all day long. But,
okay.
But it's a great song, and it's a fun song.
That's
tell me
great.
about Wake Up and tell me why it was chosen.
Okay. So I also would have gone with Rescue Me or Shine.
Okay.
I think those are the two standout tracks on the record. Not that, they're all great, but those two are the ones that I put on repeat. Wake Up, in creating it, it was like we were talking about earlier, where, all right, we got a song like that, we got a song like this, we got a song like this. This was kind of the, I don't know, I don't want to call it punk rock because then everybody will beat the shit out of me about what punk rock is.
Right.
But it was, in comparison to the other songs, it was kind of our speedy, up-tempo, kind of metal-y punk vibe kind of tune.
Hey, it's Chris Akin from the classic metal show Chris Akin Presents and the Seth Williams Show, straight from the uncensored heart of the CMS network. We've just been crowned a certified Rumble creator, and that means we're bringing the heat. All our shows, commercial free, baby. Advanced episode drops, sometimes months before the normal release, so you're not stuck waiting. You'll get all this plus exclusive content for Rumble Premium subscribers that'll blow your mind. And with Rumble Premium, you'll get every CMS Network show and all of Rumble's other videos with no ads and no fluff. This is our official home, Rumble. It's raw, powerful, and unfiltered. You want in? Just hit us up at rumble.com/register/classic metal show to sign up for free commenting, chat live, and just your ability to join the chaos of all of our shows. Then while you're there, swing by any of our videos, smash that Rumble Premium button, and level up. Subscribe now. Don't sleep on this. Hit the link in the description.
It came about from, we were, the night before we wrote it, I think we all watched the movie Balboa at the house.
Okay.
Which was like, it's way late in the Rocky series, but it's actually, surprisingly, it's a great movie. And there's a couple scenes in there that are just, really well written, inspirational kind of things like that. And so that's where the lyrical idea came from, was watching that movie together. As far as it being picked for the first single, I think, didn't we release, I thought we released something before that, but yeah, we did. Lucky? I don't know. Yeah, I think so. But when we signed with M Theory, I think I'm not blaming anything on anybody because, again, I love all the songs on the record, but I think M Theory was really under the impression that, like, well, if we're going to be able to sell this record, we've got to focus on the Chris Adler part of it, and we needed a heavy song. So I wasn't opposed to that. I don't want this to be seen as, my band or that I wrote all the songs. We did it together, and but that's what they wanted to do. And Rescue Me is actually coming out the day of the release. So you will get what you need there.
Very good. And, it's interesting that you said that you don't want it to be a Chris Adler band. I agree with you, because if it is, then it's immediately going to be shit on because it doesn't sound like Lamb of God. And
Right,
that's,
exactly.
that does not work for you, I'm imagining.
No, it doesn't. And that's the last thing I wanted to do. When Myron and I are first talking about it, he's like, well, what kind of project do you want to do? And even in his mind, it would be, he was like, oh, are we doing some kind of, speed metal thing like that? And I was like, that is the last thing that I want to do, because my whole career was that band. We achieved way more than I ever thought we could. Then I joined Megadeth and I win a Grammy. I do the Protest the Hero record. I win a Canadian Grammy. It's like, I don't want to try and compete with that, because I'm totally setting myself up for disappointment and failure. I'm, now 50 plus years old. There's no reason for me to go back and do everything that I've already done. I really want to do something different. So.
Sure. Let me sidestep here and then we'll come right back to this, because I did want to ask.
I lost your audio.
You lost my audio? Can you hear me now?
It just came back. I just didn't hear the last thing you said.
Oh, I said I just want to take a sidestep for a minute, just because of the Grammys that you mentioned. And this is a simple, it might even be a yes or no question, but do you have, like everybody's musical dream is to win that Grammy, but it's to win that Grammy with their band, with
right.
And obviously you won your Grammy with Megadeth.
Yeah.
Not saying it. I love Dystopia. It's a great record. You played great on it. The record's fun. It's a great record. But do you feel hey, here's my Grammy from a band that you don't have the 35 years of history with?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Well, let me go back to the very first part of your question. Very specifically, when even the rumors or the hints at or the thought of Lamb of God winning a Grammy, that was never on our list. In fact, we were, I wouldn't say opposed to it, but we did not put any weight whatsoever into possibly getting one of those things. As we got nominated, I remember Randy like boycotting it and being like, this is bullshit, fuck this, all that, punk rock. But it was, every time we got nominated, it was something. To me, I kind of rode the fence there. I understood where like people like Randy were like, this is bullshit, and we've been watching this for years, and you see the wrong people get nominated and the wrong people win all the time. So there is a kind of a bit of hokiness to it. But to be nominated and be able to like maybe tell your parents like, hey, I haven't these past 30 years where you thought, whatever I was doing, you're like, this is real, because their generation had a different view of that. So it does mean something. There is some credibility to be taken away from that, but that was never something that we aim for. And I was telling somebody this the other day as well. We were nominated, I don't even know how many times. I'm not sure if that's happening anymore, but we went 2 or 3 times, and I think 2 of the 3 times that we went, Megadeth was also nominated. And my history with Megadeth goes way further back than me joining the band in 2016. When I was 14 years old, I was on a skate ramp, and it was at the time of trading cassettes or whatever, and everybody had all these punk rock bands on it, 7 Second, Circle Jerks, TSOL, and somebody had put a Megadeth song on one of these cassettes, and I was like, who is this? Who is this? And that's one song, and then my, finding out more about the band, buying the records and all that stuff. That band singularly put a point on my horizon, which was, that is what I want to do with my life. Like Megadeth defined everything about what I wanted to do and be a musician, and that in that style, in that vein, the whole thing. So, coming around to it and actually being in the band, and then Dystopia itself, when Dave asked me to do it, I was in Los Angeles recording the drums for Sturm und Drang with the Lamb record, and I got a call at like 5 a.m. He's an early bird, and he's like, hey, Chris, we had met years ago and gotten along fairly well. We weren't pen pals or anything, but he's like, hey, I remember, hanging out with you, and you're cool. And now a lot of people are telling me a lot of good things about you. And I was wondering if you'd like to make a thrash record with me, which was like, I was jumping up and down. They had recently put out Super Collider, which I think was a big disappointment to the bass. I was like, yes, I want to get you back on track. So I'm finishing up a couple tours, and then he flies me to Nashville, rents a house for like 3 months, and it's just me and him. it's for that entire time, like at the end of those 3 months, I think it was 3 months, maybe 2.5. That's when Kiko was brought in. Like I was there when he was going through, like, I don't know who should play guitar. I don't know this. And so Kiko comes in at the very end to do solos. David Ellison comes in at the very end to do bass. But basically Dave and I wrote that entire record. And there were parts of it where I was like, this should be heavier. This should be heavier. I was really pushy about it. But I think, he appreciated that at the time. And, the songs are awesome. Clearly, it went on to do great things. So there wasn't, to answer your question, I was never disappointed that we did not win a Grammy in Lamb of God. And I was completely thrilled that I won with Megadeth, because even when Lamb of God would go to the Grammys, I would sit there and hope that Megadeth won it, because they had been nominated like 12 times. And in my mind, they deserved all 12. Sure. So for me to be a part of it and to get it, actually probably meant more than if we had gotten one in Lamb of God, because the mindset within that project was, this is all kind of BS.
Right on, man. Well, dude, obviously we've moved forward to Firstborne. Lucky comes out August the 8th, another week and a half or so, and it comes out. We always try to tell everybody here not to simply stream. If they want to stream it, fine, learn about it, fine, but go buy something somewhere. Where is the best place for us to send people to buy material? Where can they buy that?
I actually just got my own copy of it, vinyl and CDs. I know the M-Theory, that's the label. They've got it there, and the distribution deal that we have should have it in kind of the whatever mom and pop shops are left. And hopefully we'll make an effort to get around to some of those places and make sure they're stocking it up.
Right on. Does that mean that you're planning to actually go and play some shows, put it together?
Yeah, absolutely would love to. Our Myron and his beautiful wife just had a baby, so it might be a minute, but we have been talking to promoters, and one of the things that I was thinking might be wise for us to do, because Girish has such a great following in India with his band already, because when I go to India and do these drum clinic tours, and some of those are crazy. I mean, there's 2,000, 3,000 people who come to just a drum clinic. So I thought, well, why don't we start a tour, throughout India, especially with visas right now, trying to get Girish in here. Like, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
So we may go over there, and we've been talking to promoters in India and Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and maybe even Australia. So probably start over there, see how, kind of work out the bugs, and then get back here and do something proper in the US and Canada.
Very good, man. Well, the band, one more time, is Firstborne. The album is Lucky. August 8th is your date to have it. I suggest you buy it now, pre-order it so that you get it on time. And Chris, this has been fun, man. Thanks for joining me here on Chris Akin Presents.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, bud.